Jamie with me as always. Jamie, good to see you. And then we've got Ben joining in again. Ben, good to see you as always. Loving the mustache.
Of
Um,
course.
I'm glad someone's still rocking only the mustache. It couldn't be me any longer. Um, Before we jump into start sits, we're going to go right into that first and foremost. But injury news. There's not a whole lot to update you on right now, as we're still waiting for a lot of the final reports for the early games to come out. It seems like all the reporters right now are focused on the Miami versus Kansas City game that's currently taking place in Germany, I believe. Um, with that in mind, we have Puka Nakua, who's questionable. He's Monday night game. He is expected to play. Matthew Stafford is. Wait, no, Puka's not the night game. Sorry, but Puka's expected to play. We've got Stafford out. We've got a rookie. We've got 6 rookie QBs starting this week. Or I guess Rippion's not one of them, but feels like a rookie with how young he is and how inexperienced he is. So that should be entertaining. We have Darren Waller on the IR. If you tuned in earlier this week, you could have heard it from me. The moment that hamstring injury was lingering, we knew more was on the way because it's Darren Waller and we're not allowed to have nice things. Um, Thoughts on any of those guys before we dive on into the rest of the fun stuff?
Yeah, nothing really. I mean, Dalen Wall injury is terrible, but like you said, like the hamstring injury is going to linger. So it
Yeah,
was going to happen.
yeah. The moment I saw the hamstring injury, I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be
Yeah.
a multi-week thing. I didn't think the IR, but I wasn't surprised either.
Yeah.
It's Darren. It's unfortunately what we see far too often. Um, Hopefully he can get back this year, but it's hard to expect that at this point.
Yeah, he wasn't really even doing much anyway when he was healthy. So
Right.
He had
I mean,
he
it's
had
the
a few good
Giants.
weeks. He had a few good weeks. He was strong for the tight end in the weeks he did show up, but yeah, you got to be more consistent. With that in mind, I'll give you a start sit right off the bat. I've got this one's we're picking 2 for the flex spots. Got a few tight end options here and a few Green Bay options as well. So pick 2: Jake Ferguson, Trey McBride, Chuba Hubbard, and then the 3 Packer wide receivers. Um, But essentially, I was it's really between Ferguson, McBride, and Hubbard for me. I kind of want to wait and see with all 3 of the Packers' weapons. I like Watson, Reed, and Dobbs, but I don't necessarily want to have any in my lineup to truly know. Like, I want to wait and see who's getting reps. I think it's a very much so a young team with the Packers that's a work in progress. So I think there will be good weeks, but it's just a matter of when those weeks are. Because sometimes it feels like they do good against bad matchups and other times it seems like they hold their own against good ones, and then other times they play these shit teams and they get ran through. So with that in mind, Ferguson, McBride, and Hubbard are the 3 I'm considering. Out of those 3, Ben, who do you like? You can pick 2.
Honestly, like, see, I love Ferguson, but Trey McBride is getting so many like targets. Like the last couple of games, he's been getting like so many. But they just traded Dobbs, right, to the Vikings.
Who? What?
The quarterback for the Cardinals.
Oh, that
They just
Dobbs.
traded him to
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
Vikings,
yeah,
correct?
yeah. Yeah. I thought you meant the Packers traded
No, no,
Dobbs.
no.
I was like, what?
So it's like now there's a question mark there. So I'm like,
Yeah, there's a
I
question mark
like
for
I like
this week.
I like Hubbard. I'll tell you right now, put Hubbard in because he's gonna get his targets. He has good PPR points and he has good matchup against Indy. So I would start Hubbard and I would probably take my chance on Jake Ferguson, just the quarterback factor.
Jamie, what are your thoughts there?
yeah, same thing, man. Like Hubbard for sure in my book. I have him top 20 just because he's named a starter. And then with normally I'd say McBride, but with the new quarterback, I don't know. I'm gonna just go with Ferguson. Should be a higher scoring game too.
Yeah, I want to.
Better matchup.
Hubbard scares me. They talked about an increased workload last week, and he didn't look very great. But at the same time, I want to trust that more weeks to come, that larger workload is coming his way. And with that in mind, at the running back position, I think I like Hubbard for at least this week. I'll probably go
Yeah.
back to McBride once Murray comes in at the quarterback position. But until Murray takes over that job, let's just wait and see. Because it's
Do you think there's any chance of Miles Sanders taking that spot back?
also Wilson touchdown for the Dolphins. So
Yeah, I
on
saw
the
that.
But sorry, what was your question?
I said, do you think there's any chance that Sanders comes back?
Do we think that matters? I mean,
I mean, for my purpose, because I have Sanders on my team, so I have him on my bench. Just like I
okay.
can't believe it, in disgrace.
I've
So I'm just like maybe.
I was the one that took Chuba in a bunch of leagues thinking that Miles was irrelevant. So
I
that's
took
what
the handcuff, so I'm sitting all right. I mean, not all
it,
right, but
yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's not a running back room you want to begin with,
exactly.
but it's one where sometimes you don't have another option.
Yeah, zero
No.
RB. What can you
Yep,
do?
0 RB. With that in mind here, I'll give you one more. It's similar names real quick. We got Jake and Romeo Dobbs and Christian Watson again. This is again a pick 2. But all 3 of those guys are at the bottom of my list. The top 2 that are jumping out to me are Tank Dell and Gus Edwards. Um, Anyone have a case for Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, or Jake Ferguson over Dell Edwards?
I know Christian Watson has that touchdown upside, but he just hasn't been playing well. So no, I wouldn't do that.
I could see the Ravens running a lot too because that Seahawks secondary is doing pretty all right. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would probably stick with them.
Ben, you said you had some start sits for us. What do you got for us?
Yeah. So right now I have a start one in my flex, and it's between Zach Moss against Carolina
Okay.
at Carolina, Tyler Boyd versus Buffalo, or Alexander Madison at Atlanta. So that's what I'm looking at right
All right.
now. And right
So who
now I
was the
have
first one
Zach
again?
Moss in,
It was
but for some
Moss,
reason I'm leaning
Boyd.
towards Boyd. I
It
don't know
was
why. It's just I have this gut feeling that this could be like multiple touchdown game for Boyd. I don't know why.
I can
Because
tell you
wasn't the
this
first
much.
touchdown when they met up before? Wasn't that first touchdown to Boyd? That
Yeah,
last game?
I can tell you this much. Madison is an afterthought in this
Yeah.
for me. So that's where if you feel like Boyd's going to have a big week, then I'd play him. I like Boyd. I like the Bengals offense a lot lately.
I
They've
do
hit that
too.
stride. I mean, I think they're in that groove now. So I think even as their wide receiver 3, no, I like
But you know
Boyd for
what
the play
kills
this
me
week.
is that week after week after week, Zach Moss just sits on my bench and he just accumulates points, and it
I get it.
kills me. I have to start him at least 1 week.
I have Zach Moss starting in a few, but that's also because I have Jonathan Taylor in those, so I put
Yeah.
Zach Moss in my flex so I could have both. But yeah, I get it. No, I think that's tough. I actually think I'd probably play Moss this week because I think this is probably going to be his last good week.
Yeah. Like I
Because
said, it
each
was
week progressively it seems like JT is kind of getting more of the workload back, and I'm anticipating just more and more going JT's way as the season progresses. And so with that in mind, I want to take what I can get from Zach Moss, and I think this is one of those final weeks we can actually get something of use. So,
What about you, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I got Moss a little bit higher. They're only about 1.5 points separated. So I mean, you could go either way. I mean, Zach Moss is probably safer. So if you're projected to lose, maybe you need to go with that 2 touchdown game you think Boyd will have.
Yeah. I feel like Boyd, I mean, not that he has the best boom, because I think Zach Moss has the best boom, just for the fact that he can get touchdown after touchdown on the 1 yard line. Yeah, I don't know. It's like a coin toss for me.
I would do Moss. I'd do it one more week.
That's who's in my lineup right now.
We've got Kyle on Facebook reaching out. Can't believe I'm asking this, but after losing Fields and Cousins, Baker or Carr? Ooh.
That one's easy for me, man. I'm going Carr with that matchup. I put him in my top 12. Baker's all the way down at 16, 17.
Ben, what are your thoughts?
This week, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm starting Baker in one of my leagues right now, because of buys and injuries. I also have Justin Fields. But I probably just choose Baker this week just for the fact that I feel like Alvin Kamara is just going to eat against the Bears this week. I don't see Derek Carr throwing at least 2 touchdowns. I see him maybe throwing 1, but I feel like it's just going to be a ground game on there. I think I'll go Baker.
I'm leaning in favor of Baker for similar reasons. I like the matchup for Carr against the Bears, but I also think, or I expect the Saints to be up by a good amount.
Yeah.
I expect them to be running the ball. And if Kamara's cooking, they're just going to keep feeding him. Jamal's back as well, so if it's garbage time, they can always give him some workload. They got Kendra Miller as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I just see a lot more ground game. I like Baker. He hasn't necessarily been the best fantasy producer week in, week out. But for this week, for this time, yeah, I would go with Baker.
Yeah, I mean, I do have Kamara as my number 1 overall running back this week, but he doesn't get those passes, so I could see him getting a touchdown through the air.
I could see one through the air, but it's the matter of the volume, because I don't see Carr going over probably like 250 in yards. I don't see him hitting that. So
he hasn't been that consistent either.
So with Baker, though, speaking of Baker, would you start Deshaun Watson over Baker?
Who?
Deshaun Watson.
Who?
Hey, you want to add Geno Smith to that equation? Because that's actually one of my start sits.
That's actually a good one, man. I heard this one earlier. I'd probably go Smith over Baker.
I'm going Geno there. Yeah.
Geno?
Yeah, and I'm going, yeah. And then I'm going
the
Baker
Ravens
over.
defense is scary.
And I'm going Baker over Deshaun too. I traded for Deshaun in 2 leagues. I got him for really cheap, but in both leagues, it's like, cool, I have a QB3 now, because enough injuries happened and I needed a third one, but it's not one I want to turn to at all. Like I'm playing Bryce Young instead of Deshaun right now in one of the leagues, and I don't feel great about Bryce Young, but at the same time, I feel like I can get 15 points more consistently from Young rather than from Deshaun. So at this point, we'll wait and see on Deshaun. It feels like the sky is the limit at this point with how far he's fallen.
Yeah.
We also have Daniel on Facebook. Herbert, Howell, Minshew. Pick one. Just don't. Should he trust Herbert at the Jets? Ooh. First off, Herbert at the Jets. I mean, it feels like a trap game. I'll just say that right now because the Chargers have a good enough offense where you'd like to think that they should be in control of that one. But the Jets with a good defense and the Chargers notorious at blowing games. I could see the Jets screwing this one up. I would still play Herbert. But out of those I'd have to go Herbert at the Jets still though. I can't trust Howell or Minshew enough to pick either over Herbert. I mean, you took Herbert early enough. You just got to ride him week in, week out. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm going to go Herbert here. And just for the fact that they're going against the Jets, it's Sauce. I don't trust Keenan Allen in this matchup. That's what I don't trust. I trust a lot of checkdowns to Austin Eckler. This can be another Austin Eckler game because, he wants to get those reps again. He's been out. I know they want to give him the ball, so I can see this being another Austin Eckler game. Maybe 2 touchdowns for Herbert. That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm still going Herbert. With the quarterback landscape, he's still in my top 8 just because look who else is after him. I like Allen this week, though, man, because you figure Gardner's going to be guarding the outside, and that's going to be QJ. So that could leave Allen open in the slot more.
Is QJ going to be lined up outside?
He usually does.
Doesn't feel like it.
Oh.
No, I agree. I just their weapons are frustrating, but I think that's where I still got to trust that offense more so. Just it's consistent in regards to fantasy points. Is it necessarily consistent on the football field for NFL wins? No, but does it produce fantasy points? Absolutely. And Howell, Minshew, there's way too much up in the air with those two.
I'm telling you, it's the coaching over there. It has to be the coaching or the environment because they have the team to win. Like, that team is disgusting. If you look at it on paper, the Chargers are nasty. It's just they can't finish, and the play calling is terrible. So it's like, I don't know.
There's a lot of bad coaches right now.
Yeah.
It feels really bad. With that in mind, Jamie, you got any start sits before I jump into the next one?
Let's see, Ford or Tutu. And I think it's pretty easy Ford right now.
I'm taking Ford.
Yeah.
I think that he's going to have a game. He's definitely getting a touchdown. I think so.
I'd go Ford over Tutu. I don't feel great. I'm still going to have some hesitancy with his injuries, but still compared to Tutu, I feel great there, especially with Matthew Stafford out. That's an easy one for me. I don't want to find out the hard way by playing a Rams player when Stafford's not there.
Yeah, I mean, with all injuries and bye weeks, like this was a pretty easy start sit for me. But this is an ugly one. Van Jefferson or DJ Chark?
Oh,
yeah, I told you it was ugly.
I probably say DJ Chark just for the fact of upside, maybe. I'm just Van Jefferson to me. I don't like the chemistry over there.
London's out, so I don't know.
Yeah, Desmond Ritter though. I mean,
I gotta go. Go ahead.
no, again.
I was just gonna say I gotta go with Shark in that one. Just based, it's more of a Bryce Young thing. Just week after week, he's kind of been progressively getting more acclimated at the NFL level, and so with that in mind, I'm just going to trust that we're going to have a good week. They won their first one, but after first 2 weeks of the year for Bryce Young, 146, 153 for yards. Since then, he's hit at least 200 in each of them. I just like the volume for Bryce Young, and it looks like he's finding more of a groove. So with that in mind, I think there's going to be more of an opportunity for DJ Shark there. With that in mind, with my next start sit I have for you guys is, so we're picking 2 here, and I think it's fairly straightforward. But I at least have to give everyone a fair shot on my bench. I feel fairly set, but I'm also a little nervous about someone's guy. We've heard praise about him every week. We're about to hear it again. Roshan Johnson, Bijan Robinson, KJ Osborne, Christian Watson. And for some reason, Roshan scares me.
I don't blame you. I need to see something from Roshan. Like, he
I've
definitely
heard
has the talent. He has the ability to be the starting running back, but he hasn't done anything yet.
We scared him away. We scared him away.
Yeah.
So it was, you said Roshan and who?
I think you should just give me your Roshan case first and foremost, because
well, right now, I mean, I got him at wide or running back 34, maybe, getting about 10 points, 10.1 points. Just because, I mean, he's gonna get those passing yards. They're gonna need to play catch up, I think. So that's just my case for Roshan.
Would you would play him then over KJ Osborne and Christian Watson?
Yeah, I mean, Osborne's not guaranteed to get anything, especially with Jaron Hall.
Yeah, I guess I just don't know what Roshan's guaranteed at this point either. That's what I'm concerned about. Just because, Roshan right now, I would just like to see more volume.
Same.
It's just hard to feel good about a running back of any kind right now on my lineup. With he's yet to have more than he hasn't hit 10 carries all year, and his most receptions in a game was 6 week 1, and he's had 3 at most since. Obviously, Fields has been hurt. That doesn't help. Roshan had some injuries as well, but your boy is not filling me with optimism. But I'll probably ride him out one more week. Who am I kidding? I'll let him hurt me one more time, Jamie, just for you.
Yeah, just don't feel bad, man, because I have to start him in my super flex position in one league.
I would expect you to be starting him in your RB1 spot in every league, so I'm surprised he's moved down to the flex. We've got Justin Pierce on YouTube. B. Robinson or Swift? I'm assuming that's Brian Robinson and not Bijan.
If it's Brian, it's definitely Swift. I would definitely go Swift.
If it's Bijan, it's Bijan.
If it's Bijan, I have Bijan 2 spots higher than Swift.
If it's Bijan, I'm going Bijan. Yep. If it's Brian, I'm going Swift.
Yeah.
And It sounds like we're all in agreement on that. Then also on YouTube, we have Josh. How you doing, Josh? Gus Edwards or Tank Dell? Jamie, I'll go to you first.
Man, Gus has been getting the volume. Shoot. But I think I would lean Dell here. He could have that off game again.
Ben, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to go Gus Edwards. I feel like he's the safer bet here. So I'm going to go Gus Edwards. Even though Tank Dell is definitely great talent and he definitely gets his catches, but sometimes he fades. So I'm going to go with the safer pick, Gus Edwards.
I'm going with Edwards there as well. I like Tank Dell a lot, but the main lineup I played Tank Dell in is the one where I also have CJ Stroud and Nico Collins. So it's, I can benefit in multiple ways, where even if If Dell doesn't eat, Collins will probably eat more then, but either way, Stroud will eat, right? But in that specific setting, Josh, I would go with Gus for sure. Ben, you got another start sit for us?
I do. So I am in a league where it's one of each position.
Okay.
And right now, my wide receivers are either Adam Thielen at Indy versus Indy, Garrett Wilson versus the Chargers, or Michael Pittman at Carolina.
Ooh. Jamie, thoughts?
So it's Thielen, Pittman, and what was the third one?
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson. It's between Thielen and Pittman. I have both of them top 10 this week. Just with Thielen getting the volume, though, man, I got him a couple spots higher.
I'm going Thielen until proven otherwise. At this point, we got to trust the production, trust the consistency, and if it's there week in, week out like it has been, why do I need to try and test it? Why do I need to try and go otherwise? I would say Thielen would be my pick there.
Yeah, that's who I have in right now. I mean, you know me. Since last year, I was on the Thielen train. Ever since like week 2, I was like, this guy's gonna blow up again. I just have a feeling. But yeah,
And
that's what I
he's
have.
blown up to say the least. Yeah. No. I got another one for you guys as well. Here's pick 2: Bijan, Tyler Lockett, and then either Christian Watson, Demario Douglas, Ezekiel Elliott. It's more so Tyler Lockett versus at Baltimore, and I plan to keep Bijan in, but I at least wanted to mention him. But yeah, Lockett, Watson, Demario Douglas, or Zeke. Pick one.
Yeah, I'm going to go Lockett, man. It's hard to sit Lockett over those guys.
Yeah, I agree. It's especially, like I said, because the Ravens' defensive line is just too good, and they're good running stop. I don't think that Geno Smith is going to be handing the ball off to Ken Walker that much. I just think there's going to be a lot of throwing. It's going to be a lot of in Geno's hands. So I can see them throwing it to Lockett.
Lockett it is then. I am considering Demario Douglas though, with Washington's revamped defense after the trade deadline.
Yeah.
You know, I I was curious there because Douglas looks like the most talented option in New England right now, and it looks like they like him. So that's where I'm curious about that play, but I'll probably leave it for another week, see if he does more on my bench, and then consider him going forward from there. But I want to see another week. I also have another one, Cole Kmet.
I'm sorry,
This is,
Miami scored again.
oh wow, didn't know they could do that.
I believe it's Raheem Mostert. I wasn't sure though. Yeah, it's
Yep,
Mostert.
that's Mostert. Yep. All right, 21-14 then. Okay,
We
good. We're
got a
gonna have a ball
game.
game.
Holy God.
So
Oh
we
my
got
God.
one more. Pick one for a flex. Cole Kmet, Luke Musgrave, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs.
Oh, man. Christian Watson has to blow up 1 week. I'll roll the dice and put him in. He has to blow up at least 1 week, and this could be a game.
Yeah, and I mean it's not like the volume isn't there. You know, I had a same game parlay for the Packer game last week, and I called it to a T, and I watched my parlay fall short after like 4 failed attempts. I said the Vikings were going to win by a lot, and the Packers would be scoring in garbage time, and sure enough, they were really trying to. I needed a Christian Watson anytime touchdown, and they had four different targets in the last 4 minutes where they were throwing deep balls at Christian Watson in the end zone. And so that's where the opportunity is there. They know who their big dog is. They try and feed them when they need them. It's just a matter of can Love execute. And you know, I know they're going to have more plays like that where they're trailing and they're going for these Hail Mary type settings, and I expect Christian Watson to, you know, complete a few of those.
I actually have Aaron Jones having a big game today. At least I think so. I mean, he hasn't blown up that much, and like I have
That
him
much,
in
that's
my
an
DFS.
understatement.
He's very cheap. You
Yeah.
know, I can
Yeah.
see a lot of dump offs,
I could
especially this
see
game.
I
Aaron
could see him in
Donald.
DFS. I have him in a few starting lineups still, but it's not a guy I'm feeling great about at this point,
No,
to say the
obviously
least.
not, but it could
But
be.
I need to see that pitch count go away, and I need it gone ASAP. We also have Justin on the YouTube chat saying Evans or Pittman. Jamie, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I like Pittman this week a lot. Like I said, I have him in my top 10. Evans, I like Godwin more this week than Evans, so I put Evans a little bit lower. So definitely Pittman in my book.
Ben?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Pittman also, but it's only because Evans is facing the Vikings defense, and I feel like the Vikings defense have been stepping it up a lot. So I'm going Pittman.
I like Pittman. I like both. You can't really go wrong here. I think both have good weeks, but I'm one lean slightly in favor of Pittman. I feel good about playing either in my lineup, but Pittman is where I'm leaning for sure. And I mean, hey, if you're benching one of those guys, good for you, because it's the kind of situation we like to see. Those are the scenarios we all want to be in, right? Where we feel like we actually have some talent on our bench.
All right.
No, I wanted to talk with you guys too while the chat jumps in with some start sits. You guys got any more start sits?
As far as start sits go, I really don't. I mean, I have a couple bets that I have in, but that's about it.
Let's save the bets for a moment. I wanted to ask first on the fantasy realm. Are there guys that we're looking at trading for in our dynasty leagues? Do we have trade targets? Are there guys that we're keeping a close eye on, trying to acquire, buy lows? Like Aaron Jones is someone that I'm very curious in if he's on a bad team where I can, get him and hopefully buy him on a low, use that pitch count argument to get him at a cheaper price. Plus, I think this is his last like really good year. And it hasn't been a really good year even right now. So that's where he's someone I think I can get for relatively cheap. Also Deshaun is another one. There's certain guys where it's just like whose stock is low. And that's usually where I want to buy. Like I always try and treat my players like assets, where they just appreciate. And with that in mind, we're always trying to buy low. We're trying to always invest at a cheaper price and hope for more of a return. Yeah, with that in mind, though, any specific trade targets you guys are eyeing in any leagues?
I'm just trying to go out and get Kyler Murray where I can. I mean, he hasn't played, but I do like his talent, so I still have him in my like top 12 quarterbacks for Dynasty. Some people might be a little bit lower on him, worried about him, so I'm just seeing what I can go out there and get for him.
Ben, how about you?
Quarterback wise, for Dynasty, I'm actually trying to get Will Levis. That's who I'm trying to grab and see if I can get him like somewhat cheap. I mean, he had a great game. I know there's potential, but I know people that have Will Levis that have still like, at least in my league, they still have like Patrick Mahomes, and my other league they have was Jalen Hurts. So I know that they're probably gonna want to trade him, and I know I could probably get a decent price for him.
Yeah, I like that. No, and I think something to be mindful of someone like Deshaun as well is, 2 of his 3 weeks that he played the full game, he actually wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Like, and that's no, I'm looking through the QBs right now. Jared Goff is one that always comes to mind because I'm sorry, but you can for some reason always get him on a really cheap price. Don't really understand that. But I'm sorry, folks, but Goff is a starting caliber QB in fantasy. He's a top 10 QB. Like where Jamie has Kyler, that's where I'd put Jared. And Jared, you can acquire him even at his current production. Like he's not producing well. I don't understand it, but people just there's a stink to Goff's name, and I'm here for it because there shouldn't be. This dude just consistently balls up, and I just don't understand why everyone slanders him so much. I understand it's Detroit. I understand like he was part of the Matthew Stafford trade and all that, but bruh, like you produce week in week out for almost 2 full years now.
I like Jared Goff. I don't understand why the hate is on him. I actually have a signed Jared Goff helmet right here.
I
Rams
didn't
though.
even I didn't even know those things existed. Uh,
Well, it's with Cooper Cup. That's why I deserve
oh, okay. That's why. That's why. No, I like
Plus, Goff's only, 29, 30 years old, so he's still at the younger side.
another one I'd say for if I'm in win now mode and I'm trying to get a cheap QB, like Jared Goff's more so my long-term play. Same with Daniel Jones, because Daniel Jones' stock has plummeted so much, and I know he's still going to be their starter next year. Like I can get a starter next year for a second rounder, like what QB could you take in a second round of a rookie draft? There isn't one, right? And that's where guys like that, if I can buy them for that low, sign me up. And that's more so where I'm trying to look more than anything. Otherwise, names that come out or pop out to me would be more of a Russell Wilson. Um, Not necessarily the household name we always remember him to be, but a guy that's been a lot of garbage time, but his worst week has been 10.9 points against the Chiefs, and he scored 21.56 against them when he played them again. Like he's been consistent. He's QB 11 on the year, and that's our 34-year-old questionable team, questionable future. Let me buy him for cheap right now. Help with a win now. Any other QBs? What about running backs? Do we have thoughts there,
Quick
guys?
on QB though, are you still going out and buying Jordan Love cheap?
No.
I wouldn't say the cheap is there as much though. Like I would say where a lot of people, if I didn't take him where I did in a lot of these leagues, it was because he was taken a lot earlier than I felt comfortable. Um, and those people that paid a more premium price on him aren't going to give up right now because I think we all knew Jordan Love was more of a long-term project. Obviously, he hasn't necessarily flourished this year at all, but I still don't think you can just give up on him right now, and you can't really buy in as though just because of his age, because of he's the starter, and there's weapons there, and you want to assume it can only get better, not worse. I have a hard time seeing Jordan Love's buy now price being that low, and I guess that's where he's not really on that list for me. If I could get him like in a Daniel Jones range, I would do it in a heartbeat. But there's still a little bit more optimism to his name than someone like DJ, where I'm going to have to pay more, and I'm going to have to pay more than I'd probably want to pay at this point because yeah, there's only certain guys that I don't know. For the most part, I don't want to sign up for bad QBs unless um, I'm trying to have multiple options to flirt with for a while, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to sign up for Jordan Love, signing up for him as my QB2 next year. I want to sign up for him as my QB3 or QB4, so then I can just let him sit on my bench and put him in when I need him. Running backs though, thoughts there?
Uh,
A couple, like if you're not competing this year, go after the guys that are just afterthoughts. Like Kendra Miller comes to mind. Like no one's starting Kendra Miller right now. Tank Bigsby's another one. Just someone that you can get on your team for the future. Like the younger guys.
Yeah, I would. I still like JT. Still think you can buy him lower than you should be able to. Um, just because of that slow workload back into the offense. Flyers, deep guys, someone that I don't think you probably have to trade for in Dynasty is going to be available in redraft, but Keaton Mitchell. That's still one I really like for the Ravens. Um, as a young guy, a flyer. I don't know. A lot of the rookie running backs haven't necessarily inspired me. Tajay Spears, he's got enough hype where I don't think you're going to get him for too cheap. That's where if I'm looking at plays for running backs, ooh, that's tough because there's not a lot of. We're at a weird time for the running back room. There's a lot of old guys where it seems like their days are numbered, and then there's a lot of young guys where we haven't really seen any reason to believe. Um, you know, Tank, Kendra, I like those guys, but they haven't necessarily been the most inspiring prospects in their limited workload right now. Oh, Justin is on the YouTube chat again. Rashid Shaheed or Zay Flowers? I'm gonna just want to jump right in and say Zay Flowers. Pretty easily for me.
same
Um,
here.
Jamie, you're on mute.
Yeah, I was gonna say same Flowers easily, just because he's only playing about 50% of the snaps. I mean, he's been getting targeted though when he's on the field. But I think one game he only had like 3 targets, but he had like over 150 yards. It's that boom bust. I'd rather take the safety of Flowers.
Yeah, I'd rather take the safety of Flowers as well.
Yeah.
I am looking at the running backs more though, and it's not promising. I mean,
Yeah, I'm in this one league where I'm an RB2 short of having the perfect team. And I have some good depth, but one running back that I'm trying to target, and this is in a redraft league, Rashad White. I'm literally trying to like get this guy to trade me Rashad White. Just like I'm in love with his receptions, especially in PPR.
Last 2 weeks he had what 13 receptions and he caught them all.
Dude, I feel like, and his schedule is not that bad. Like towards like the playoffs, like he faces Indy, Carolina, Green Bay. Like he has good matchups later on. That's definitely one person I'm trying to get from other people. And like I'm not trying to pay high for him because I know what he's worth and I know what he's gonna get it. Like he's definitely gonna have some bad weeks. He's gonna have the 6 point game. He's gonna have the 7 point game. But his upside, I believe he can win you a championship as an RP2.
Yeah, I could see that. I think Rashad White would be a strong RB2 there. I mean, especially I like Jalen Warren, I guess, as more of a buy low if I can get him at the right price. But
Someone dropped him in my league today.
my concern with Jalen Warren is he's Tony Pollard 2.0 in my books.
Yeah.
Which is just that by the time the opportunity to be the RB1 on their team arises, they're going to be 26. And that was my big gripe with Tony Pollard all along. It wasn't that he couldn't produce. It was just, we heard this hype and excitement for years about Pollard being a great running back as well. But by the time his chance to be the feature back was there, he was already, at his prime and at the tail end of it because running backs don't live that long.
You got to understand, though, he got hurt at the end of the season. It's tough to come back from an injury like that.
Do you want to defend any more Cowboys players? Do you want to
I'm just saying
defend
in
Dez
general, it's not
catching
even
it?
just because I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm just
Next
saying
you're going to tell me
general,
Dez caught it or something.
Anybody that gets hurt, it's hard to come back from an injury and be the same guy.
It was never. Yeah, but that wasn't my point. It was just that it wasn't about his workload. It's about him being 26 when he's kind of getting that opportunity finally. And running backs are good until 28.
Yeah, but Derrick Henry was behind DeMarco Murray for how many years? 2-3 years?
Yeah, but
he got in the NFL when he was like 21, 22. So he was like 24, 25, around that area too when he got his start.
Well, Tony's got a long way to go to get into that Derrick Henry territory.
No, I'm just saying in general, not comparing Tony Pollard to Derrick Henry.
Yes, but my example is that most of the running backs, 26 is the start of the end, 26 to 28, and that's where all I'm trying to say is Pollard I would have loved a lot more if I would have known he was getting reps sooner.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Zeke was the killer there, and that's how I feel with Najee as well with Jalen. As much as I like Jalen, where I think he could be an RB1, similar to Pollard, where like, okay, cool, they still got a couple years, but I don't necessarily want to pay that top tier price like I know Pollard was this year when he's 26 and there's still questions about if he can truly be that top 5 guy, like the price range you're going to have to pay. Pollard wasn't a cheap acquisition, and that's where in dynasty leagues more so. We've got Gorilla on the chat on YouTube. Mahomes is screwing me. Kelsey has 1 catch.
Okay, wow, so I told everyone not to play Kelsey, and they thought I was crazy, and they were like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Because Taylor Swift's not going to be at the game."
You don't know
that? It was breaking news yesterday. I guess she was in New York or something, girls' night out.
Hell yeah, had a girls' night out last night too. It was fun. Good for her.
Got that notification too. It just came in.
Oh yeah, that's the one I shared yesterday, dude.
Yeah. Let me check, by the way. Inactives today. Puka's officially active. Inactive Stafford, Fields, Wilson, Graham. Wow, thanks, Fields. Field Yates with the clutch one there. Stafford, Fields, Wilson, and Jimmy Graham are officially inactive. Game-changing news there. 4 guys we knew were out.
Game-changing.
No, and then we have I have Chargers kicker. Do you like Saints or ATL kicker better this week?
Well, this is going for 2. We don't like kickers over here, but I just looked up someone that does, and they have Koo at number 5, Dicker at 7.
I like Koo. I got to go with Koo every chance I get.
I trust this site too, so.
Koo. Young Ho Koo.
Yep, the San Diego Chargers, or was he there when they were in San Diego or LA? Either way, they got rid of him quick. R.I.P. Running backs, I think we can move on from those because there's not a lot of options for buy low. Or because I think a running back position as well. If I'm in a losing situation, I'm selling what running backs I have, unless it's an Etienne, a McCaffrey, something like that. Which I also would be surprised if you're in a tanking situation. Um, I think if you're losing, it's better to sell the running backs that you have and kind of go for a restart. If you're in more of a win now situation, that's where the Rashad Whites, the Aaron Joneses, those kind of guys, you can buy low. Even someone like David Montgomery, now that Gibbs is showing some promise. Monty's been out for a few weeks. I might use that as maybe an opportunity to buy Monty a little lower for a win now push. But well, no, with the wide receivers, any wide receivers we're liking?
There's a couple wide receivers I like, but I don't know about like buying low. Like Rasheed Rice, he's playing right now. Like I think that's basically the only target besides Kelsey that is relevant in fantasy, at least in my opinion. Other than Rice, Douglas, I like Douglas. You were talking about him before. Josh Downs, maybe if I want to try to get him low, but I don't think anybody would. So,
Jamie, what about you?
Right now, I tried buying Josh Downs in the league. I tried setting a second, and there's no way he accepted that. I think you'd have to get a late first for Downs.
Yeah, I could see that. And I mean, I think something that's important when we're at this time of year when you're going to be trading future draft assets, this is a challenge I kind of always have for everyone is put a name to that draft pick. So if you project it at, like, say it's my second rounder, do I project it first half or second half of the rounder? Like middle, or like beginning, middle, late? It's kind of my 1 through 4, 5 through 8, and then 9 through 12. I kind of try and rough guesstimate that with where the draft pick will go. But with that in mind, once I do that, if I think this is going to be an early second, I'll look back at the previous draft and put specific names from that range in there, and then I'll ask, okay, what would I give for this as a return? Because oftentimes people are very enticed by the draft pick itself, but they don't put a player name to it, and you can often get skewed offers that way. I've noticed, it's like those Daniel Jones trades I made, like that one where I said I gave up a second rounder. Like to me, it's a 12-team super flex. I'm one of the best teams, and that means I'm gonna be a late second. And with a late second, you're not going to get a QB in a super flex league. Like even Will Levis wasn't there at that point. So, if depending on what you need, try and do that like kind of mental exercise so you can put a name in there. Kyle, good to see you in the chat as always. Thank you for jumping in. Go Packers, kind of, not really. Packer fans are down bad.
Is Christian Watson someone you're looking to buy low on?
I don't. Again, I just don't know how much of a buy low it is. I view him in that realm where it's like I think everyone's down on him, but I don't think I can buy him at a low enough price that I'd really view it as something that I'm pursuing right now. Like if I'm going to look at some like younger names that like, because Christian's down there, but I just think there's enough upside still where people aren't really going to sell you. Man, it's tough. If I can get Watson for cheap, yes, but I'm not just from what I've inquired, people usually like I tried to get Christian for like a second and change, and they countered with like Jamar Chase for Christian Watson plus, and I was like, yeah, I'm not trying to move Jamar. Thank you, but no thank you. That was my nice. That's the way I'll make it sound. You don't need to know how I actually word that shit in the chat. But you send me a bad trade offer, I will tell you how I feel about it, and I'm good at that.
You should be in my leagues. Nothing but.
My philosophy is if you it's more of I don't expect a trade to be sent to me that is one that I'm going to want to hit accept on immediately. And if it is, I'm just going to hit accept. I don't want to play any games. I just want to do good business, get a deal done. But if at the same time, if you send me what I call a non-starter, like that Jamar Chase for Christian Watson plus, like where it's enough of an extreme. Like he was asking for my star, and he was giving me Christian and like a scrap on his bench. Like to me, no one's going to take that. You're not showing any sort of risk of asset loss, and at that point, I don't know where to even go with the counter. And at that point, you're just going to piss me off, and I'm going to take you. Or I don't know. I get a lot of disrespectful offers, and if they're disrespectful enough, I'll just go into the league chat and tell you that I think it was a bad offer. And yeah, just don't waste my time. I think we're all in that boat, right? We want respect
We
from.
want the money.
We want the money, but we also want the respect of our peers. Where it's like, hey, if I see that you sent me a trade offer and I'm spending the time to like look into this, like I want it to be worth my time. I don't want to go to this notification and then see that you're offering me a third for, Jordan Addison. It's like, oh great, thanks for nothing. Like, no. In regards to wide receivers, I'd try and acquire. I mean, I to me, it's more of the Calvin Ridleys, um, the DK Metcalfs, where it's the stars that have just. Debo Samuel is another one, but stars that I view as consistent up in that tier, but just haven't necessarily been constantly at the. T Higgins is another one. But guys where I feel that I can trust their production year in, year out, and it's just a matter of being patient through a slow period or through some injuries or whatnot. But yeah, I'm always just trying to like plan ahead with some of that. Mike Williams, another one. Mike Williams scares me a little bit more just because if QJ ever actually does get the opportunities, then you would think that maybe less workload there. But Jamie, you said Mingo was someone you were trying to. Was it Mingo or Downs you were trying to get?
Oh no, Downs, man. Like I
Okay.
wouldn't mind getting Mingo for the right price, but I'd rather have Downs.
Well, what's the price you'd pay on QJ right now?
QJ, I don't want nothing. I wouldn't even give a third for QJ. I just don't like the guy, man. Never did.
Well, if anyone is in any of my leagues and watching, if you want to send me QJ for one of my thirds, I'll hit accept. So just send that this way. I'm not
QJ is on a lot of waiver wires in my leagues.
I'm not a QJ guy, but that's one of those guys where I'd love to buy low because it's 1 year of just not really being utilized. To me, I'm like, okay, there's still time, still young, still
You
first
want to
round
talk
pick.
about not being utilized? Someone dropped Damian Pierce in my league.
Who? No.
Damian Pierce. They just say had it. They had it. He don't even care anymore. He just dropped them out of spite. And he's a very good fantasy player. Like he wins a lot too. And
He's
it's
down
just like
bad.
he's just like I'm done with them.
He's down bad.
You can probably get him for cheap if you really want him running back.
Yeah, Damian Pierce is that's one where I would be scared to take him too because I expect a different running back to come in and be the workhorse at some point. Oh, and we had Justin Pierce as well saying, Moss or Taylor. I'm going Taylor. I think this is the last week both produce, but week after week it looks like they're inching their way more towards Taylor, and I think this week is the last week you can get away with playing both, or like either. But I'm going to lean in favor of JT. Ben, it looks
Taylor
like,
gets the yards, Moss gets the touchdowns.
or Taylor gets all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at Taylor's snaps, and the last 3 weeks they've been going up significantly. Like it was at 40, 50, and then 60.
Oh, and then at tight end, any tight ends on the radar? Also, I'm getting someone's chirping at me in a league chat for the fantasy basketball.
Fantasy basketball.
They're chirping at me that I'm not the big dog anymore because I'm the number 2 scorer on the week. We'll see about that. Yep, we're catching dubs. That's all we catch. I'm on clap his cheeks too when I have to match up against him. Looking forward to it. But no, tight ends. Who do we like there? Anyone on the radar we're thinking about acquiring by and low?
One guy I kind of want to get is Jelani Woods because he hasn't been playing all year. He's still that young, athletic guy. He could be coming back soon, and you can probably get him for free.
One I like is Luke Musgrave. just because I think he is the one Packer option that I would say stock is actually cheap enough right now. Or Dobbs and Reed at that point. I think Watson, when a lot of people paid high enough price off the bat where they don't want to sell too low. But Musgrave I would view in that tier where there's hope, but there hasn't been a lot shown this year. I like him. One guy I really am aggressive on that I want to pay a lot for. Dalton Kincaid. I want to get him now, and I want him to be my tight end of the future. And I think he can.
Kincaid over Kyle Pitts in my dynasty rankings.
I've had Kincaid over Pitts, so welcome to the club.
I want Sam Laporta.
Or I love
I'm
Sam
so
too.
upset that I didn't get.
Laporta's my number one.
Yeah, I mean I
so
like
upset that I
Laporta,
didn't get to
but
draft him.
you're not. That's a Kincaid has the hope of reaching that tier, and I don't have to pay the price of that tier. But Laporta has already shown enough in these early weeks where this is like young Travis Kelce prices,
Basically,
and that's where it's like for me, as much as I love Laporta, would love to have him on every team. There's a reason why I don't have Kelce in any leagues, and it's because I don't usually want to pay that tight end one price.
yeah.
And that's where someone like Kincaid, I'm like, ooh, let me try and get him now.
The way I look at that, though, if you're drafting Travis Kelce, you look at him as your wide receiver one. That's the way I look at it. And I take a wide receiver off the waiver, and I plug him in as a tight end or whatever. That's the way I look at it.
But I also don't do redraft, so that's where
yeah. I do a little bit of everything.
I do the waivers. I'm in a redraft league co-owning it just so I can see the waiver owner percentage for my waiver show. That's I joined someone else's team just so I could have the numbers for redraft. But no, any other tight ends, any other guys that we're keeping our eye on?
Oh, as far as Drake London's out, Kyle Pitts is definitely up there.
Oh no, here 1 second. I gotta say something disrespectful to this guy because he's chirping.
But what do you guys feel about McBride?
We were talking about McBride too. He's getting receptions.
Yeah, I know.
It's just a quarterback.
I think I have Trey McBride a little too low. Right now I have him at 11 in Dynasty, and I want to put him in the top 8 so bad.
Yeah, I know. It's tough because I don't know the quarterback situation. And until I see what's going on, and if Dobbs was still out there, I would say yeah, McBride. But the fact that he's not, I don't know. It's tough to call because you don't know it could be 13, it could be nothing. So
I like McBride. I like him in Dynasty. I like him a lot in Dynasty. Now is the time to buy him if you can, because this is what the last chance. Like, say rest of the year goes like I'm projecting, where McBride is utilized how we saw Ertz utilized when he first came in with Kyler. I think Kyler loves his tight ends. I'm expecting him to use McBride because Ertz isn't there. And by the end of the year, McBride is someone that you might not be able to get for any relative discount. And I think there's already enough excitement about him, but you got to buy now because I think end of the year the price could be a lot more. So, and I think one thing to be, I would like having a lot of tight ends. Like when we do these start sits, you'll notice a lot of my questions are like Chig, Laporta, Pitts, and Ferguson, or it's like Kmet, Ferguson, Pitts, and Kincaid. But it's a lot of these young tight ends, and it's because a lot of these guys can be added in trade packages for relatively cheap. Like McBride, everyone just kind of forgot about him after he was a second-round pick, the number one tight end in his rookie class. People just disregarded him because he was behind Ertz. And then suddenly he was this cheap toss-in because people kind of forgot about him, and suddenly his stock's rising again. So that's where tight end positions one I really like to get greedy with, because everyone always needs tight ends. It's an ugly room, and if one of those young guys kind of hits, everything's different. So that's where, for example, my team that has Pitts, Laporta, Ferguson, Chig, like I have Laporta and Pitts and Ferguson. Like I'm living the good life, right? Like I don't need to worry about tight ends forever now. It's like, sweet, I can sell one and I still have a young backup. Like those are the situations we want to set up. First, prioritize the starting lineup, piece that together. But if we don't like the overall picture of the starting lineup, that's where I'm going to try and get as many assets on my bench that are flyers that I'm more cautiously optimistic about long term.
Yeah.
Because that's where, obviously, I want to consolidate my talent into my starting lineup if I can, so I can win now. But if I don't have that luxury, I want as many shots at the. I want to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. But that's pretty much tight ends as a whole because it's a shit position, right? With that in mind, though, we'll wrap it up there. Or actually, no, we won't wrap it up yet. Ben, you have some bets for us, I believe.
Oh, I do. All right, so I have anytime touchdown. A bet. It's a 6-game parlay. Just no, I do have a 4 o'clock game too. So I have Rashad White anytime touchdown, Nico Collins anytime touchdown, Jerome Ford anytime touchdown, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, CD Lamb. For $5, you get $750, and I like all of them, just for the fact that I've loved Rashad White. I think he has a good shot of getting a touchdown. Nico Collins has been playing phenomenal. Jerome Ford, we've talked to him already. I think it's just going to be a ground game over there on the Cardinals. Kamara, Jonathan Taylor. I guess the only thing you can probably make an exception with the CD Lamb, but I feel like the Cowboys still definitely throw up a touchdown up there. I think it's going to be CD.
I like it. I like it a lot. Jamie, you got any bets going right now?
I was gonna say you should have added Kamara in that too because I think he's gonna smash.
Oh, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Because what I did is I took $20. I put it on a Kamara anytime touchdown. Then the profit was gonna be 15 if I got that right. So I took the 15 and I put $10 on 2 touchdowns, right? And then I took the 5 and I put it on 3 touchdowns. So all I needed was to get is 1 just to break even. But I took the profit that I would have made on the 1 touchdown and split it up between the anytime 2 and anytime 3.
I like
there you go.
I'm looking
Playing smart.
looking at some some anytime touchdown scores that I want to jump on right now. Kamara's an easy one. He's minus 125 on FanDuel. Let's see. I'm gonna go Falcons. I'm actually gonna go Bijan. Plus 110.
And I also do like Lamar anytime touchdown because I think he's gonna run one in today.
Think so?
I'm thinking, man. I mean, at least 1.
Hopefully, man.
Ravens, Seahawks. I feel like Andrews is gonna get a touchdown there. I like Andrews. Plus 190 there. See Browns, Cardinals. I'll put Jerome Ford in there. You're welcome, Jamie. Give your guys some love. Let's see, Houston, and who was the one we had for Houston?
Nico Collins.
I like that. All right, Nico at plus 220. I have a 50% parlay boost from the Ringer for a 3+ leg parlay for NFL. So I've got 5 legs of touchdown scores. $1. It's plus 10,374 with the 50% boost.
There
So
you go.
5 touchdowns, and all it is Alvin Kamara anytime, Bijan anytime, Mark Andrews anytime, Jerome Ford anytime, and Nico Collins.
There you go.
I feel good about
Ready
that.
to win.
Oh yeah, always. We're always ready to win. But with that in mind, Jamie, how about you tell everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, like right here every Sunday with Zach. Starts this show, and then Tuesday nights on Going for Two cheat sheet.
And then Ben, tell everyone where they can find you on TikTok and everywhere else.
Yep, you can find me on TikTok, Dr. F Goods PPR, home of the NFL baby. My daughter picks out helmets all the time, makes parlays. Sometimes she wins too. She has a great winning record. I think she's like 72% right now, winning ratio, which is crazy because she's like 1-year-old. But yeah, I'm there. You can find me here going for 2 sometimes. I'll sneak in every now and then. And then yeah, you can see me chirping on Facebook on Fantasy Football Discussion, Jamie's group. So I'll be in there too.
You can find me on Going for Two. You can find me here every Sunday morning for the Sunday morning pregame show with Jamie as always. You can also find me every Tuesday on the Waiver Wire show for Fantasy and Frames. And then right after that ends, I will be hosting the NBA Rem Pass on the Rem Zone for the Rem Boys. We're having fun over there talking basketball. We're doing a little bit of everything right now. We're trying to make sure we got some action going for fantasy and for bets for football, basketball, baseball, and soccer. But I guess baseball now done. Congrats to the Rangers, all the Rangers fans out there. Good luck in your fantasy lineups this week. We look forward to seeing you next week, and thank you as always